Greetings and welcome to another episode of Q Points Podcast. I'm DJ Sir Daniel.
And my name is J. Ray, sometimes known by my government as Johnny Ray Cornegay III and Sir Daniel. It is apropos that I have on my Slow Jams Can Heal Us shirt because we are about to talk about one of the most important artists in music history. They just legendary all around. And we have a guest too.
We absolutely do. If we're going to talk about this artist / band.
They're a band.
They are a band. I know that's one of those topics that people are like, huh? And like you said, we have a guest this episode, and we're so glad to reintroduce. Wait, is this his first time?
This is Nick's first time on our show. We have been over to his show twice.
So we had to have him over at our house this time to talk about Sade, everybody. Ooh. Yes, we're here at that point. We have yet to talk about Sade, and Nick is the quintessential Rock and Roll Hall of Fame guy. And we need him on board to talk about his love for Sade because he's a huge fan of Sade. And we also want to talk about Sade because she is a nominee for Rock and Roll Hall of Fame class of 2026. So J. Ray, what I want you to do is give the people a brief introduction to our guest.
Absolutely. So Nick Bambach is an academic librarian and the host of the podcast Rock in Retrospect. In each episode, he invites guests to discuss the careers and legacies of some of music's most important figures. Since its inception in 2021, the show has consistently ranked in the top 100 music history charts in dozens of countries, including the U.S. He is also regarded as an expert on the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame and frequently appears as a guest on podcasts and other programs as an authority on the topic. He recently launched a second podcast with a group of friends, A24K Gold, in which they randomly select the film from A24's catalog and explore its production, themes, and cultural impact. Welcome, Nick Bambach, to the show. Nick, hello.
Hello, guys. Thank you guys so much. I feel unworthy with that introduction, honestly. I'm like, who's this person?
You, absolutely you. And welcome aboard. Thank you for joining us here on Q Points. And, you know, just so you're here in our house now, talk to our audience and let them know all about Rock and Retrospect and just what got you gassed up to start Rock and Retrospect and how far it's taking you to this point.
Absolutely. So my show, Rock and Retrospect, like J. Ray said, it focuses on the legacies and careers of music's best artists and people that we should know about. And for me, I feel like the best podcast, I don't know about you guys, it's the ones where you have good people on, you have good conversations, and you talk about good music. And those are the three things I think that we try to do on Rock and Retrospect. And to me, you know, anyone could talk about these topics, I feel like, but it's all about the human connections and the authenticity that I think is really important, because how we come to get to the music that we love and appreciate and admire, it's all different and it's all unique. But there's no really right or wrong answer. But it's always fascinating to hear guests who have been on the show or first-time guests just talk about the music they love. And really what I wanted to do is their love to go and transfer that to the listeners to check out the music, to check out the movies, check out the things that we're talking about, and, you know, create new fans. And my show, the way that I always kind of pitch it to guests and even fans of the show or people who want to listen is that think of it like a couple friends at a coffee shop or a bar, and you're just talking. You don't even realize there's like microphone. Like, I can't tell you how many guests were nervous to come on. They were like, I've never been on a podcast. What is this crazy thing? And then they're like, oh, it was recorded, and it's amazing. And they turn out wonderful. So it's always a good time.
You know, Nick, one of the things that is interesting about your background, and I'm curious to know if this connects, but you're an academic librarian. And we've talked about this on the show. We actually see music as a form of being like a library, right? In terms of education and how people search for music. Is that, from your perspective, kind of like also a connection with Rock in Retrospect?
Absolutely. Because I feel like part of what librarianship like any customer service oriented job, is it teaches you humility, but also it teaches you to also see things from different perspectives, right? And to feel like there's not really one right or wrong way to look at music, just like there's not one right or wrong way to do a research question and search in a library catalog or a database. And I think that intuitiveness and that open-mindedness is really important. And I think that, to me, it transitions a lot of it too, because I feel like another thing too is like people can tell if you're happy in what you do. Like when you have a podcast and you're talking, the listeners will know if you're enjoying it or not. And I think that's the same when you're helping people in a customer service oriented job, because if they're not, you're never going to like listen to them or like want to interact with them again. And I feel like in many ways, and my parents always instilled this in me, is that usually you only get one shot to impress someone and that's it. So you always got to make every opportunity count, and the first impressions always matter. And I think that's also what matters too, because, you know, you have the potential to have a long-term partnership, a long-term thing where you know these people, like students, faculty, staff, and it's the same with audience members too. So yeah, I think there's a lot of correlation between the two.
I absolutely love that. And you are also a Rock and Roll Hall of Fame guy, which is a very specific and unique expertise to have. So how did that come about, Nick? How did that become your thing?
So I got to tell you guys a quick story because this relates to it. So I was born in 1989. So that was the year that Stevie Wonder, The Temptations, Otis Redding, Dion, and the Rolling Stones all got inducted to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. And for me, it's been around my whole lifetime, and I've known about it for pretty much most of it because it was always on VH1, especially the telecast. And I remember watching the 99 one with Springsteen, McCarthy, Joel, like the Staple Singers, they all got in that year. And a lot of those in like the late 90s, early 2000s. And now that was like 10-year-old me. Yeah. Now, when I became more interested in it, and this actually gets asked a lot when I'm on shows, like what drove me to really be interested in this as a topic? Donna Summer. Donna Summer was my mom's favorite singer of all time. It was Diana Ross and Donna Summer. She has taste, honestly.
Love your mom. Your mom, yes.
She just loves those two. And I remember Donna Summer when she died. Of course, we were all sad because we love Donna Summer. Like, she's the queen of disco, like with a capital Q. One of the most important revolutionary artists ever. She was nominated for the Rock Hall 4 times, and she didn't get in. And she was nominated almost consecutive years. So it was like 2008, 9, 11, 12. She didn't get in. She actually, I think, passed away either right before or right after the 2012 induction ceremony. I think right after. And I just remember when she died, that was like in every article, every interview on TV that you would see on social media was that, you know, wait, she's not in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame? They could have inducted her. She died of like cancer. She could have lived to see her induction. Even John Landau, who is Bruce Springsteen's manager, who was the chairman of the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame and nominating committee for decades, like only in the last couple of years he stepped down. He said that like he basically told the voters, like, you know, you're crazy. Like, she should have been elected already. Like get your shit together, essentially. And I'm sorry I cursed, but
you can curse on the show.
Oh, okay. I feel bad. And, you know, she got nominated the next year. She got in, and it was kind of bittersweet because her family's there, and you're just like, come on. Like, they could have, like, let her be there, but it just wasn't in the cards. And it's sometimes the cruelty of this thing where sometimes people don't appreciate you until after you pass away, or it's too late for you to attend the ceremony. And that's how I became interested in it, was because of Donna Summer. And then my other act that I wanted in the Rock Hall so badly was my favorite band, or really one of my 3 favorite bands, Depeche Mode. I was like, these guys need to get in. They're so important. And there was a point guys in the 2010s where they tried different alternative acts from the 80s and no one was sticking. So they tried the Smiths, they tried the Cure, they tried the Cars, the Replacements. No one was really getting it. And then it was really the Cars in 2018 and then the Cure in 2019 and then Depeche Mode got it in 2020. And I was like, okay, those were my two big ones for Depeche Mode and Donna Summer. Like, what do I do now? So then I did this crazy thing, guys, in the pandemic, and this is kind of what I'm known for, is my top 100 Rock Hall Prospects project. So what I try to do is I look at who is eligible for the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, and I say to myself, okay, we are going to try to rank them, and I try to be objective, like the objective hat, like about influence, impact, are they the A-listers of their genre, this and that. So like Tina Turner was the first one. She got in that year. And then Mariah was number one for, I think, 2 years. And then Cher, Coldplay, and now Phil Collins. And it gets widely distributed a lot. And, I get asked about it a lot. So that's another thing I'm known for with this thing is that list, which you can get a lot of crazy people for sure that, they're like, he's dumb, or like, oh, that doesn't make sense. And I'm like, just to be on the list is important. Just like the first we're going to talk about today, who has been on every iteration of the list, and deservedly so.
So Q Points family, you can, just by listening to him, you can tell why Nick is definitely kin to the Q Points family, because the way we talk about music on our show ad nauseum and, with such fervor, we can definitely tell, Nick, you have the same type of devotion to the music and to the acts. And like your mom, you have great taste because you are also a super fan of the subject of this particular episode, which is Sade. And just so we can dive on in, what can you recollect when the first time you actually heard Sade, or when you just became aware of the whole Sade movement?
I'm going to tell you guys, I know distinctly the moment, and it was in the year 2000. I was about 10 years old, and Lovers Rock came out. Yep. And I just remember that album cover, and I thought, who is this lady? Is this a new artist?
And
just see her
like
back.
She gives you the side eye a little, like she's looking to her side. She says she'll be by your side. Will she really? Helen, come on. But like, I saw the album cover and I really thought it was like a new artist, because that's when India R. Reid and Alicia Keys and people like that were out. And then I said to my parents, "Who is that?" They're like, "Nick, that's Sade." What are you smoking, 10-year-old Nick? They give me like the side eye.
They were like, do you know us? How do you not know who Sade? And it's so funny that you mentioned India Ari in that class of 2000, right? Musicians that we became aware of and who rose to the top, because India Ari constantly names Sade as one of her biggest influences. And I could tell you, J. Ray, so I'm a little bit older than you, Nick. I recall became aware of Sade, not because of a singular performance, but I remember I've told people on this show countless times that we did not have cable in Brooklyn in the 80s. I could only see music videos like on Friday night. And I remember the Sweetest Taboo video and just thinking like, who is this woman? The slick back, the bold lip, just and very, very quiet, but a very, very prominent presence in this music. Her voice didn't match her face, kind of, to me at 11 years old, and she was singing about the Sweetest Taboo. And was it Sweetest Taboo or was it Smooth Operator? I think it was Smooth Operator was the first one, the first video that I saw. But what solidified her as famous was that she became the butt of a joke on Showtime at the Apollo. It random.
Really?
Yes,
what was do you remember the joke?
It was something about her name, and whether it was about her name, and because we could clearly see that the name Sade was spelled Sade. But on Showtime at the Apollo, Black folks, we're gonna make fun of your name, the pronunciation of your name. We're gonna do something to make you, because you stick out to us. We can tell that you're not regular. And so I remember the comedians specifically making fun of the pronunciation of Sade. Well, she pronounces it Sade, but it's spelled Sadie. We gonna call you Sadie, girl. You know, that kind of thing. And so it became one of those jokes about the pronunciation of Sade's name, who we later found out the full pronunciation, her full name is Helen Folasade Adu.
Yeah.
And then that's where they get the name Sade. And then J-Ray, of course, we also learned that Sade was not just her name, but was actually the name of the full band. So J-Ray, what about you? When did you become aware of the mysterious, the mystical Sade?
Yeah, so the very first time I remember tuning in, it definitely was BET. Hang On to Your Love, the video came on. And what was crazy about that era was, so Nick, Sir Daniel knows this, but I'm going to share. I was an MTV kid. So we did have cable in my house all day long. We were fancy, and we had like a button on top of it was a lot. But anyway, I watched MTV all day and I watched BET all day. I like music videos. I just took in everything. And so Hang On to Your Love came on. And I was like, oh, that's a Black woman doing that. Like, that's really cool, because I had gotten into like the Style Council and Spandau Ballet and like, so that whole vibe. And then I'm like, oh, this is like that, except a little funkier. And so Hang On to Your Love was like my introduction. And then I saw the video, and I will never forget this. My father was transfixed by Sade. Like, the vision of her, for whatever reason, he literally just kind of took to her musically, but he also just took to her visually. Like, he would talk about, man, I like that Sade. Is Sade gonna be up there? And so she became just kind of like a fixture in the house. So he was into the songs, and he was a single buyer. So he would have Sade singles in the house. I fell in love with the music video, and just remember, I felt sophisticated as a kid in 1985 listening to Sade, because it was so unlike everything else that was on the radio at the time. So that was my like intro. But I feel like I'm curious for you, Nick, like coming at this from a rock history perspective. People put people in categories, and they like stick them there, and they never shall they cross over, right? I'm curious to know how you come at the influence of Sade from that perspective, but also curious how your appreciation for what Sade has evolved to since Lovers Rock. Like, what happened? Did you go back in time after seeing Lovers Rock and like, oh, what did I miss? So how did that evolve, and how do you approach this from like a rock history perspective too?
So I think it's really interesting with Sade as a band, as an entity, is that they really don't fit any labels. Because I wrote down like 5 genres that you could easily throw at them, and it's all true. They're smooth jazz, they're quiet storm, they're R&B, they're sophisticated pop, and that is all true about them. But I think that's what's actually, I think, the most fascinating thing, and what makes me always want to revisit Sade, is because you can't necessarily put them in one category. And I think as fans, especially, like not even just people who are podcasters or historians or writers, I think sometimes we like to just put labels on stuff because it's advertising, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's very easy to be like, oh, that's R&B, and oh, that's
and that
pop,
goes in
and
that category
rock.
over there.
And sometimes there's just like artists that they just don't fit any mold, and they're just distinguished because they're so uncategorically themselves, like they're iconolasts. And I think with Sade, this was the most interesting question, was like, who influenced them? Because to me, that was what I was like, this actually I stood the most time on. I wrote down a couple names, and you guys are probably going to say either like, this is brilliant, or like, where the hell did Nick get these names from? So Roberta Flack for Quiet Storm, obviously, because like that high, low, and that vocal delivery that Roberta had, and she's fantastic as well. Rest in peace. She just passed away. And then Shaka Khan, because she just brings that like sophistication and class. But Shaka could rock you. She could like seduce you. She could do all the things. And and she's funky. I love Shaka. So like that range for Shaka. Luther, because we talked about Luther on my show with you guys. That Quiet Storm, but like Luther, like Sade, had a really great sense of vocal range. And to me, you know a great singer if you know who it is in the first note or two. And that's what a lot of these artists I've mentioned so far, you know, like you're not going to mistake Sade for like a Anita Baker or Patrice Rushen or Brenda Russell. You know what I mean? And those are also some people I was thinking of. The last two are kind of weird. So like brace with me. Kate Bush.
Oh, yeah.
Because Kate Bush has this theatricality to her, and she's so distinguished. Like she's just like you're not gonna like just like mistaking Kate Bush for anyone else. But I think Kate Bush, like Sade, they're also distinctly very feminine artists. Like you know, like they're coming at this from this very feminine perspective that is both like beautiful but also poetic. It's hard to explain, but that's one. And plus, like a flair for like music videos and like appearances and fashion that Sade is, of course, known for. And the last name, this is a weird one, is Roxy Music and Brian Ferry, because I feel like, because that's one of my favorite bands. And I was trying to think about this. And I think Roxy Music were like proto-punk, proto-new wave, proto-everything. Like they helped kind of launch so many of these different things when they were doing glam rock. But the thing about Roxy Music that I thought about with Sade is that there's this emphasis on appearance and fashion, and it was controversial more for Roxy Music because they had like models who were like naked pretty much on the covers, and you know, Brian Ferry's in tuxedos, and the band's a mishmash, and you know, Sade is basically, you know, this like regal looking woman with gloves and cocktail dresses and red lipstick and gold jewelry, and you just like this is like this level of sophistication that their brain in. And like I think the thing too, Sade came of course from London in the early 80s, like that's how they formed, but they came from like a post-punk world. Like all these members of the band, including Sade Adu herself, they came from this world. So it's really interesting because they're not really coming at it from like the more, I think, pop side. Like it would be easy to say like, oh, they're like Boy George or Duran Duran. I don't think so as much. I think they're taking it from all these other kind of genres that I've kind of discussed. And to answer your question from earlier about how to like, so I went back and I started with Diamond Life because that's a masterpiece. Like that's the thing about this band that I think we have to just say for now is that every album is pretty much a masterclass in how do you produce a record and make a great album. And like, I don't care if it takes her 10 years in between albums. If it's like great, then like, honey, take your time, do your thing. The other band members, they'll do their own things. But like, it's amazing how you could have the audacity to do that and just make your fans wait a decade. It better be worth it. I remember she said that in an interview once, and she doesn't do interviews really, but someone said like, are you scared of that? She's like, no, if my fans like my work, they're going to come. And she always delivers. And I started with Diamond Life, and then I went to Soldier of Love, the most recent one. And again, just it's so good. And the songs that just appeared everywhere, like, I don't know, in like the 21st century, especially, it feels like Smooth Operator, Your Love is King, Paradise. Those songs are just everywhere in pop culture too. Like she has these waves.
Yeah. Yeah.
Especially with the younger kids.
It's so.
Go ahead, Sir Daniel.
So when you bring up the Sade is a time traveler basically.
Yeah.
Yes.
And and when you mentioned it was the first thing I thought of. I was like, yeah, are we going to go here about the ability for her to take a decade off in between albums, and I've always said that adds to the mystique
Yes.
of her as an artist and them as a band. It adds to the desires and the needs of the audience, so that when you finally do arrive, it's like, finally we're going to consume whatever it is you're going to give to us. And then the cherry on top is that it's really, really good.
Yes.
And so by the time you all are listening to this and watching this, J Ray, when I get up out of here, I'm actually heading to the Echo Room, because our friend Jeremy Avalon is hosting a listen back, if you will, because this is the 30th anniversary of Maxwell's Urban Hang Suite. So J Ray and I were talking about the overlap in sounds of that album, and so why don't we talk about Sweetback and that project that came up in '96? Nick, what was, because did you get a chance to, when did you become aware of the Sweetback project, and what were your initial thoughts when you took a listen to it?
Very recently, embarrassingly, in the last 5 years or so, because I feel like that's so understated in the history of Sade, like the band. It feels like no one talks about it, even though there's those two albums that they had from '96 and '04. I feel like because it's really weird, right? It's Sade without Sade.
Exactly.
I do. It's weird. And you're like, how on earth could this work? Because you can't replace Sade Adu. She's just everything. She's so distinctive. She's so amazing. And I love the fact that they went a little more experimental with their music. So, and it feels like, this is what I was asking you guys, if I'm on the right track or not. It feels like oxymoron. It's like they're ambient, but not ambient. They're like neo soul, but not really.
They're trip hop, but not really trip hop. Yeah,
all of the things. Yes,
And Nick, you're onto something in the communication. So I think what's interesting too about this moment in time is Sade is on a break. The band Sade is on a break when the album Sweetback is created. That record comes out. And let me tell y'all, when I was in college and Sweetback was out, you would hear people bumping Sweetback in Philadelphia, and out the speakers, because all the folks was on there. Mel LaRue was on it. Max. We hear Maxwell basically for kind of the first time, because Urban Hang Suite is just coming out. He's a new artist, but we get him on Softly on this record, and people are like, "What in the world is going on?" But what's beautiful about it is Sir Daniel going back to Urban Hang Suite. There's this continuum of what I call the Sade Universe in the late 90s, where it's not Sade, but it's everybody that works with Sade doing stuff with other people. But Nick, by the time you get introduced to Lovers Rock, all of those sounds come back to Sade. So when we hear Lovers Rock in 2000, we're like, oh, I see what they did. They brought all of that stuff in the in-between into the music now. So all of a sudden, Sade sounds ambient. Sade has a little trip hop. Lovers Rock is basically like a trip hop joint. The song itself. And so I think it's important to just call out that this band includes Sade, of course, who's brilliant, and also these other three men who are also brilliant. And I also want to lift something else up, because I don't want this to get lost with folks. Sade said around the Soldier of Love. So there's actually, it might still be on YouTube. They did a whole mini documentary on the making of Soldier of Love, which is brilliant. But one of the things Sade talked about specifically, she was like, well, the reason why it takes us so long is because we all live in 4 different places. So to get us all together in a room to make a record is an effort. We really have to work to make it happen. And so it's their commitment to also Sade being Sade as a band, which I really respect. and they're able to still take elements of that magic and sprinkle it on the world so it's not completely gone, but as a band they respect each other, and it's like, nope, Sade is us four, and if we're going to make a Sade record, we need to be in a room making a Sade record. And I think that's really key.
I think it's amazing that it was the same group of men in that band, like for Sweetback. It wasn't like Arcadia or the Power Station. And I'm thinking of 80s super groups in a way where you're thinking like, okay, there's like a couple members of Duran Duran or Chic or so on. And I think it's amazing. Really, I think they walk so like someone like Daft Punk or Gorillaz later on the 21st century could run, because that was the thing that was really amazing to me too, because, you know, they would bring in guest vocalists like Pharrell Williams, and you would have people like George Benson, you would have Bobby Womack, you would have people like with those two bands or groups as examples. And that's what Sweetback really, I thought, innovated too, was that idea of like, okay, we're going to be more collaborative with other artists, other singers, and we could do different things while really not sacrificing what you love about Sade as a band, like the sound. Like, it's not sacrificing that, it's just kind of being more playful with it, I would argue.
Yeah.
And I don't want to, just from my recollection, like I'm thinking about the other children of Sade, the individual and the band. Like Portishead Dummy, when that album came out, I was like, oh, it's like all of these things are happening in the same atmosphere at the same time. And I kind of want to go back to the whole British invasion that we experienced as well. And just, you know, because you mentioned Culture Club, you mentioned, we think about the Specials and the whole ska influence of that time and how it influenced. You can tell that there's some influence on Sade as well, because the bands just kind of did that. The jam sessions did those things back then, and it lent to that sound as well. And I just wanted to, you know, to name those names and to bring up those influences as well, because I think Amy Winehouse was a child of Sade.
Yes.
I'm thinking about the way her presence on stage, her whole stilo on stage, the way she approaches songs, her and standing there with her guitar. These are all Sade's children. And I think we sometimes forget how much influence the individual and the band had on so many people, so many generations. And so, Nick, I think this is a perfect opportunity for you as our Rock and Roll Hall of Fame expert to just put it down, lay the case down for the voters out there as to why Sade, Helen Fola Sade Adu, and Sade the band should be inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
Oh, yes, absolutely. So I think they've been nominated before, by the way. They were nominated 2 years ago in 2024, and they came back this year. And a couple things about this band that I'm actually I printed out my write-up, because when I did my top 100 rock hall prospects, I was crazy in the pandemic. I wrote 500-word essays for every artist. Yes. And this actually helped me think about, like, you know, put a limit on, like, a word limit on the, like, why they're worthy and like their case for it. And really it boiled down to a couple things with them. And I think that they're a cornerstone of Quiet Storm. Like, they helped bring that to the masses. They're, I think, the definition of musical excellence. I mean, if you're looking at these 6 albums, they are all masterpieces. And Sade also sold well. They all went multi-platinum. People forget that about this band in the United States. Like, it's not like they just did it in England or Mexico or Canada. No, like in the US, every Sade album went at least, I think, 2 or 3 times platinum, and as high as like 6 or 7, which is incredible for someone like Sade, who is kind of like doing their own thing, really. They're not really like almost anyone at that time. And I think it also boils down, I wrote this down and I just want to make sure I get this correctly, is that they never compromise. I'm going to quote myself. Wow. Sade created their own path to superstardom and on their own terms. They never compromise their artistic vision to industry pressure. That's why they can go years without making a new album and still maintain a devoted cult following decades later. A woman taking ownership of her art and career is not only refreshing, but that does not get any more rock and roll than that. And then and it's just these ideas that like she's just someone that people keep looking to as an inspiration, as an influence. And you mentioned some of those names, but oh my God, you got Erykah Badu, you got SZA, you got Frank Ocean, you have Lauryn Hill, the Weeknd. There's so many artists that point to. I mean, Drake has a tattoo of this woman on his arm, for crying out loud. So like he literally wears it on his sleeve, and I think that. The other thing I'm going to say about Sade, and I think it's really important if we're thinking, because like Beyonce's eligible next year, Taylor Swift's going to be eligible in a couple years. Those two and Adele, have the ability, like Sade, to just dominate any headline whenever they release new music. Like the world stops when a new Beyonce or Taylor Swift song comes out. It's the same with Sade. Like that ability to kind of just zero in and take ownership. Like you don't hear from her for like 10 years, and then she comes out and you're like, oh my God, minds are blown. Like she came out of the castle. Like we gotta listen to the new album or the new song. So those are some of the reasons. I just think that if we're also looking at it too, just the fact that I think the Rock Hall has lacked 80s R&B in particular. Like they've got a lot of the 60s and 70s R&B artists that should be in already, but there's this weird like dearth of artists who are not in from the 80s that are still superstars. You see it on this ballot. You see New Edition. You see Luther. You see Sade. Doesn't even get into other ones that should be in, like the Pointer Sisters or, acts like that. And I think that this is a good artist because you're getting not only R&B, you're getting jazz. You're getting more pop and this melting pot. And that's what I love about this band, right? It's that they're so good at just doing all these different types of styles and doing their own thing, but it's also good. And I just think that they're amazing. So
this is a good time that we call out some stuff. So if we can, for each of us, spend some time discussing Sade's songs we love. This can also include side projects as well. But what are 3 songs that people should add to their rotation from Sade? And Nick, we can start with you. What 3 songs would you pick?
Okay, so I was trying to think of this because I do this on my show too, and I think it's hard sometimes because you want to make sure that you're hitting the big ones. And I went with 3 that if people did not know this band, you got to go with them. Smooth Operator, that's the introduction to the band. It's so iconic. That sax solo by Matthew Mann, oh my God, it is vital to that song. It is just everything. And it's really, I think, a blueprint for the band. Even if she sings from LA to Chicago, we'll forgive the geography, with Helen. But, it's a great song. It still holds up. Love it. Paradise is the other one that I would go with because I love how on Stronger Than Pride, she strips it down and it's built on repetition, and it's this idea that she's like getting more playful and it's getting a little bit quieter, and it's like this is to me the song I point to too, where it's like this is like a prototype for like neo soul, for example, that you see in the next decade, and it's just like otherworldly, and I think that's what I love about her. Is like what you were saying, DJ Sir Daniels, that she's an enigma. You can't figure her out. We will never figure her out. I mean, as I'm talking about her, I'm like, I don't even know if I'm correct in half of what I'm saying about her. And she'd be like, Nick, you're crazy. But we love her for that. And the other song, I tried to go with 3 different albums because, again, this shows musical excellence to an artist. If you could point to other albums that these songs are really good, is No Ordinary Love, which I think, Love Deluxe, guys. That is the masterpiece. That is the best one, in my opinion. And that song, that arrangement is so incredible. And I think that's the thing that you guys were saying about like this universe that she's created, her and the band. Like, it's just it could work in 1992 or 2026. And that's the marker of a great artist, is that it's timeless. And I love her vocals. I never get tired of her vocal ability. And she's really just one of the best singers ever. And I just love how expansive it is, how emotionally heavy it is, this song. And it's just, it goes on for like, what, 7-8 minutes? But I'm like, give me 20 minutes, Johnny. Give me like the side 2 only for No Ordinary Love. So.
Yeah. Ah, love that. So Daniel, what you got?
All right. So I'm a big, as a DJ, I'm always looking for stuff that translates also to the dance floor. And one of my favorite cuts is Turn My Back, because that bass line is very, thinking about the ska element and the dance hall element. Turn My Back is just one of those things where you can drop it and it still gets people to do a little something against the wall with your Heineken in your hand, and it's very slinky, it's sexy, and it's one of those cuts that I don't think people give a lot of love to, show a lot of love to, even though there was a video for it and everything. But I really dig that. My next favorite cut is definitely Love Is Stronger Than Pride.
That song is beautiful.
From a lyric standpoint, it got me from the beginning. Like, I won't pretend. Yeah, I won't pretend that I'm big on forgiving. Like that. That I was like, is she? Who? Are you talking about me? Yeah, yes, because I'm this is something I just related to with the lyric, but also it that vocal makes a really great acapella to, like, for DJs if you just want to drop it with something, if you like doing blends, and especially with hip hop beats, that acapella with a hip hop beat, masterpiece. And then my third and final favorite Sade cut, when Love Deluxe came out, I was graduating from high school. I graduated from high school, and there was just something about that aching. There's something aching. I don't know that you can assign an emotion and a feeling to an instrument, but the guitar and the wailing guitar in Cherish the Day always sent me the way it came on, and the way it was just the guitar is crying at the beginning of the song and throughout the song and wailing to you. And I remember distinctly, she's standing on the rocks in the video, and it's almost like she's a siren calling to the myth about the mermaids calling to the seamen, and singing to them to their death, because they can't not listen to this song. And that's exactly how I was when this song dropped. And hearing Cherish the Day always brings me back to that moment. It just makes me stand in my tracks, stop in my tracks, and just listen. And I'm always transfixed and transported whenever I hear that song. So J. Ray, it's on you. What you gonna do?
So I think I might have just changed something real quick. I had to check and see if I was going to switch something up. I had to look real fast. But first and foremost, I thought about these songs as, if I needed to introduce people to Sade, what would I give them? I would start with giving them Your Love Is King. Yes. Single note. First of all, if that's your first song, that's really the first one. So the UK get that first. And I'm like, what? That's crazy that this is the first single. That song to me, Nick, you echoed this earlier, sounds as good as it did when it first came out in the 1980s. And I hear it on the radio still today, and I still can sing to it. So it's singable. It's well produced, and it's just a classic song. And the video is really dope. Sade's got a black number on with that red lip, and it's very 80s because it's kind of a harsh light on them. As a band, it's a dope song. Great video. Your Love Is King. Number 2 is a song I often play. It's from it's the title track to Lovers Rock, Lovers Rock. I love that song because I feel like it simmers in a way that is calming for me in the way the guitar and the bass sit in that song. And not only that, you get the trip hop elements that are happening underneath that song that really bring it into to something a little bit different, I think, for the band. So love that. And my final song is now Nothing Can Come Between Us. So it's from Stronger Than Pride. I think this is the first time I had heard Sade kind of do a play with a duet with a male vocalist. So the male background singer and Sade are playing back and forth with this song. And I think that's the first time I remember hearing that. But going back to Sir Daniel's point, that's a groove. Like, that song is one of those joints that my parents danced to because it's just it's a straight groove and it's a dope song. So yeah, those are my three. So Your Love Is King, Lovers Rock, and Nothing Can Come Between Us. I think with all 9 of the songs that we picked, it's really the perfect like Sade
mixtape. Yep, absolutely.
Now, I'm gonna add one more thing because I need to add one more thing.
Okay.
Softly, Softly from Sweetback and Lover from Sweetback 2. First of all, Lover from Sweetback 2 has a vocal from Aya from Naked Music. Shout out to Naked Music, who Aya now does like, I think, some ambient stuff now. But that vocal that Aya gives on Lover from Sweetback 2 is just chef's kiss. And so if I was to throw in some Sweetback stuff, definitely those.
Well, if you're going to do that, I'm going to quickly throw in Bahamadia on Natural.
Yes, on Natural is a joint. It's a joint.
That's my joint. Sweetback on Natural. That's my joint. Okay. That's it. That's it. We're cutting it off.
That's it.
Nick, can you believe that you did Q points?
Like, you know, I was so happy. I've been listening to your show for the last year or so, and I'm glad we connected because you guys are incredible and
thank you.
So knowledgeable and like the nicest guys. But I'm so excited that this was my first time to be on the show.
Awesome.
Nick,
so please.
No, go ahead.
Yes,
go ahead,
please.
Sir Daniel.
No, I was just going to say, please let the people know where they can find Rock and Retrospect, how they can follow your forecasts and your predictions and your wish list for the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame from now and forevermore, so that our people can become your people.
Absolutely. And listen to the Luther Vandross Never Too Much, and also the new edition episodes I had both Jay Ray and Sir DJ Daniel on. You can find us at Rock and Retro Pod on Blue Sky, Instagram, and Facebook, and also our Patreon. So if you want to support independent podcasters, which is really important, I think just acknowledge that for a second, that we don't do this for money. Like, we don't get paid a ton of money, but you know, if you have a fan base or people are willing to help cover the cost of the things that you do to make the show exist, and you know, you give back to things, it's more of an opportunity to do that. So yeah, and you could find all the links to like my blog site through the Patreon as well.
Awesome. Well, Nick, we appreciate you so much, and thank all of you for tuning in to the latest episode of Q Points. If you can see our faces or hear our voices, go ahead and subscribe. While you're at it, make sure that after you hit subscribe on Q Points, you hit subscribe to Rock in Retrospect, so you could get tuned into everything that Nick has going on. Visit our website at qpoints.com. You can do all the stuff over there. You can listen to our archive of episodes. You can become a member. Like Nick said, it is really important for us doing this work to keep the lights on all of our podcasts. Your support is really helpful to us, and we would really appreciate it. So you can become a member on our website at qpoints.com. Visit us on Substack, where we have some additional content, and you can shop our store at store.qpoints.com. We appreciate y'all. We love y'all.
Absolutely. And like I say, at the end of every show in this life, you have a choice. You can either pick up the needle or let the record play. I am DJ Sir Daniel.
My name is Jay Ray. That's Nick Bambach from Rock and Retrospect.
And this is Q Points Podcast, dropping the needle on Black music history. We will see you on the next go round. Peace. Coast to coast, LA to Chicago, y'all.
Peace, y'all.